Hello, everyone. Grant Cohn, Sybilla Bakzaza. It's mirrored. I always point the wrong direction. Anyway, we have a very special show today. It's hard, right? It's
Yeah, right.
counterintuitive.
It is. Yeah, it's like steering a sailboat. You go the other way to turn it.
Exactly. So we have a very special show today. We want to talk at length about the significance of Carl Nassib, what he's done, what this means for the 49ers, for the NFL, for professional sports. And we're going to talk about that for a while. But we figure it's a 49ers channel. You guys might not be quite ready for what we're going to talk about. So we'll give you some football topics to start off, like an appetizer, before we lay down the T-bone steak of what we're going to talk about later. So I hope you guys are cool with that. Sybilla, I would like to talk about Trey Lance at first. I've been calling him a chaos quarterback with my dad. People call, there's like terrible phrases like off schedule, whatever that means, like he's a bus that's late or something. Back in the day, they used to call it chaos. I like that word better. That's how they used to describe Jeff Garcia. And it seems to me that given all the quarterback hits that the Niners took last year, this could be a very important attribute for him. Do you have some stats for us on this one?
Yeah, so first, to back up what you said about the off-scheduler thing. So Jimmy Garoppolo's one of his big defenses has been poor offensive line play, a porous offensive line and everything. We do acknowledge that he's a little bit of a static, stationary quarterback, but we kind of cut him a little bit of slack. So actually, instead of throwing McGlinchey and Tomlinson and other guys under the bus, we actually found some stats as far as comparing him to the league leader in time, as well as some averages that some other superstars face. And the first thing was that Jimmy Garoppolo in 2019 took 36 sacks, which is pretty significant. That's quite a lot of hits. Obviously, it took its toll on his body. Ben Roethlisberger, who had 2.1 seconds to throw per average, whereas Jimmy Garoppolo had 2.4 seconds per average. He only took 13 sacks. Mm-hmm. He took basically 1/3 the amount of sacks of Jimmy Garoppolo with literally 0.2 seconds less in the pockets.
Right. So what does that mean to you? I know what it means to me.
Roethlisberger is tough. I think we have to acknowledge that he's upright a lot. He's hard to bring down, but he is not gonna be like Trey Lance. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Patrick Mahomes. This guy, to me, I find Ben Roethlisberger pretty stationary. I find him a shirker. He's able to shirk tackles because he's so tough. But how does he take 1/3 the amount of sacks with less time versus Jimmy Garoppolo, who's younger?
I'll tell you how.
Me, that's alarming.
I'll tell you how. Ben Roethlisberger is better and can find the open man quicker because he's a better quarterback. He can
also throw the ball away.
Yes, he can do that too. I think this is an interesting stat, average time to throw. I'd like to know how they calculate it. I think part of the low time for the Steelers is the fact that Roethlisberger gets the ball out of his hands quick and he's decisive. Absolutely. And the one thing Kyle has never been able to say about Jimmy is that he's decisive. If someone asks him how is he in terms of decision making, he'll be like, he's improving. He's getting better. Or he won't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. His answers are always, Jimmy, he's working on it. We see a lot of improvement. And it's a week to week kind of thing. He improves every week. Yeah.
So I think what we see with Jimmy is he hesitates too much. And the combination of a guy who hesitates in the pocket and really can't move outside the pocket is going to be a guy who gets hurt.
So I like it when quarterbacks juke. They kind of deke the defenders with the shoulder turn they do. But I don't think Jimmy's always actually deking them. I think that's the indecision. When Ben Roethlisberger does it and he goes back to pass, it's like his shoulders are aligned where they're supposed to be with where he's supposed to go. He scans with his reads, whereas Jimmy kind of stands there and looks around and will go like, and it just feels like some of it is disguising and some of it's not. So the league, the other quarterbacks that we're also dealing with were the Colts and the Saints, who are considered top tier offensive lines. They provided 2.3 and 2.4 seconds.
Right.
Basically the same as what Jimmy Garoppolo was getting. So it's not like the Niners offensive line was terrible.
But again, you got Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers, two
buy time.
Two pocket quarterbacks that Jimmy Garoppolo, would wish to be as good as. Guys who actually know where to go with the ball pretty freaking quick and make a decision and go. And Jimmy still, in my opinion, plays like he's 24. He has some ability, but it's like you really are inexperienced. You really don't know what you're looking at half the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Right.
for those that are watching, where we're driving this conversation is if we can replicate this elite offensive line time in the pockets.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a stationary, indecisive quarterback for all of his great things that he does, Jimmy. We're just harping on the fact that what would Trey Lance do?
Right.
I feel like just his ability to bolt 1 yard left or right. One of the things that drives my father insane is how many sacks Jimmy Garoppolo takes in the collapsing pockets. It seems like he hunts sacks sometimes, like he moves up into them, bounces off his interior defenders, that sort of thing. He does not roll out with proficiency. We know Trey Lance will. I predict that Trey Lance will buy more time for this offensive line. This will improve the run game. This will make defenders more honest. And I mean, people like Chandler Jones, they went feasting on Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, I mean, he hunts him with a certain impunity that there's a respect that Chandler Jones, you can see it in his style of play, that he would show a Tom Brady or a Ben Roethlisberger, or even better, like a Kyler Murray or a Russell Wilson. Jimmy Garoppolo is a little bit predictable as an interior or edge rusher.
Wounded animal back there.
Right.
Wounded animal back there is like they smell blood. The thing with Lance that I think is interesting is he's probably going to hold the ball longer than Jimmy Garoppolo, because he's going to have all these, when the pocket breaks down, he's not going to hang it. He's going to get out of there. He's going to make plays. He's going to make plays on the perimeter of the offense all the time. So he'll hold the ball longer, but I think he'll get sacked less.
Yeah, I agree. And I just think that he's going to be a lot more elusive. Absolutely. So let's see what he can do. And maybe we can improve this offensive line, because I think Trent Williams already knew his system, but there's no accounting for comfort. I really think he stands to be even better this year. And if he gets some help from a quarterback that will evade.
Right. And I think some people, like some Niner fans, are thinking, well, whoever's better in the pocket is going to win this should win this quarterback competition. Not really. The way I look at the NFL right now, unless you have Tom Brady, who's the greatest pocket quarterback of all time, maybe, you're going to need a guy who's really good at escaping chaos and pressure, because there's just not much of a pocket anymore. It doesn't really exist. So I think that's why Trey Lance is going to end up being the right quarterback. It's the kind of stuff that Jeff Garcia was doing 20 years ago. I'm feeling a little nostalgic for 20 years ago 49ers. I've been watching Garrison Hurst videos and stuff. I don't know why, but I just feel a little nostalgic.
I brought him up last week.
Yes, he was great. Garrison Hurst.
He was.
Yes. Anyway, so we think that Trey Lance, he'll hold the ball longer. He'll evade sacks. He'll make the Niners pass protection look better. And this is probably the most important thing he'll do for this offense early on.
I really look forward to seeing what Mostert can do, because I think we've been talking about Trey Sermon, and unfortunately Jeff Wilson's not going to be available, but guys like that, giving Mostert, spelling him some of his runs so he doesn't have to be thrown into the fire, kind of muting his carries per game, maybe around 8 to 10 or something like that, because if you look at his stats, he does usually bust one out in 8 to 10 carries.
You give him 10, one could be a long one.
Right. I would even bet on that. So fantasy football definitely is a great guy. But I think that Trey Lance is that other running back that we might actually see. And I would love to see what play action and pitching the ball to Mostert outside might do, because Mostert in space, if he has that first 3 or 4 yards to explode, then he's unstoppable at the second level.
Yeah, the way I think it'll work, when Lance is under center and they're in the I formation, you want Mostert in the game, because the combination of him going outside to one way and Trey Lance booting the other way is a whole lot for a defense. It's very simple, but it's a whole lot.
One player will be assigned to each. Unless they figure the play out, they'll have to be assigned either direction. And
that's a lot of speed going in 2 different directions. I
exactly.
mean, just Trey Lance's presence on the bootleg will occupy the backside defensive end who's unblocked and give Raheem Mostert more room to run. I mean, it's all going to work. I do think, though, when Lance is in the shotgun, which he's going to be in a lot because that's where you run the zone read, it's a better fit for Trey Sermon. I've seen Raheem Mostert in the shotgun. It doesn't seem like he's as good. I don't know why.
That actually surprises me.
Yeah.
A little bit. I always thought he would be better from shotgun, but you're right. It's when people are under center, he's really good.
It's got like a longer runway. He doesn't have to turn as acutely.
Yeah,
he can kind of just gradually hit
he's not a pivoting running back. He's a block sprinter. He likes to sneak his way into the gap and take off.
Right, like he's running on a track.
You equated that to surfing the other day, as far as or someone equated
True.
it to surfing. What, Rob
on my channel. I'm gonna equate it to track though, because this guy was definitely a track star at Purdue, and it's like coming around the curve.
Right.
Gradually.
Yeah, actually, because you don't accelerate at the. I used to run 4x1 and 4x4.
Nice.
Obviously, did a lot of running in the Navy, but you never accelerate at the end of the curve. It's just like riding a motorcycle. You accelerate out of the curve, and he knows how to do that. So he knows how to kind of coast and just ramp it up and go on a stick or cut type of thing.
That's true. But Sermon, I've seen him. He's really good from the shot.
He's a bruiser too. I feel like he'll punish some defenders.
He can make guys miss when he's almost at a standstill. What was your personal best time on in the 100? Because I ran that a little bit too.
Oh my, it's been a long time.
Been a long time.
Let me get back to you on that. I'll have to look that up. I can give you, so my best 400, my best time was 49.8.
Oof, that's very, very, very fast.
Not
that's
Olympic,
very,
though.
very fast.
It's fast, but not Olympic.
I never got a time in the 400, but
yeah,
I ran.
To me, I think the 400 and the 800. The 800 is the hardest race.
I hate that race. It's not fun.
Yeah, it's a
400 isn't particularly fun either.
Ever.
The 200 was my favorite. I ran it once in a relay and didn't get a split time, but we won. And I would like to know. I did run a 100 from a standing start one time with my dad as my witness, and it was an 11.
Yeah, I personally love the 100s. I think the 4 and the 8 are the most impressive to me of the sprints, because it's just insane. Because the 400, make no mistake, it's a dead sprint the whole way around.
Yeah.
What makes
the
100 exceptional? I think. What did Mostert run, out of curiosity? Is he a 100 sprinter?
Yeah, I think he ran a 10-1. I think he ran something ridiculous, like a 10-1, 10-2, something like that.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And it's very technical. It has a lot to do with your start, your drive phase, how you transition from different. But my favorite was the 200, because that's I don't know. It's a little bit longer.
See, I was wondering if Mostert ran something else, simply because I really like the fact that he seems to hit his top speed after the line, like not just from not being touched, but he seems to ramp it up during his whole run.
He absolutely does, like a true sprinter. I think he was.
Remember that?
Yes, it was amazing. He ran indoors in Big Ten, and I think he was like that's like 60-meter sprints, I believe.
Interesting.
Indoors, yeah. So I don't know how we got to that, but that was an interesting topic. The Trey Lance effect is going to really change this offense. It's going to be cool.
Absolutely.
It's going to really help the offensive line, the running game, probably the receiver, probably everyone when it happens. Unless people get hurt. This is still something we need to talk about, because it's really the most important thing. I feel like the Niners are doing everything right. They're putting Trey Lance in position to win the job. But if they limp into the season like they did last year, it's hard to take them seriously. They got to find a way to not get themselves hurt before week 1. We've talked about this before. Are there other suggestions? Because they have no ideas of their own. They're listening to our show, writing things down like this. They're just waiting for you to say something to help. So why don't we
can help.
We can help.
Yeah, so we've already been, I think we, between myself and other guests, we've harped on nutrition, we've harped on recovery and activation, basically warm-ups and cool-downs and things like that. At this point, there needs to be an actual physiologic change to their workouts. Their calisthenics program needs to be different. It's not just the acts of moving static weight. That is to say, leg presses and lunges and bench presses and rows and things like that. So getting away from that topic, because they're either going to do that right and not ego lift, or they're going to do it wrong and continue to do what they do. I'm sure some of the 49ers do the right thing. Mm-hmm. But overall, I would love to see more control in the weight room. It's not a matter of that looks okay. They have enough guys on this roster. There are enough trainers. Hire me. I don't care. But get someone in there and get a team of people who will actually force form. So that's the first thing. The second thing is there are actual non-weight agility drills, because a lot of these career-altering or season-ending injuries are resulting from non-contact injuries. Things like that. Non-football injuries, we'll get to that later, but non-contact injuries, I think, are the thing that they can mitigate the most. So one of the things that disciplined football players do it's called mobility drills, agility drills. Hip mobility. So it's basically everything comes from your hips. If you don't have your hips turned in the right direction, then you're rotating on your patella in ways that should not go. And that's how running backs, defensive backs, and people like that hurt their knees, is because they are not leading with that elbow. So you can throw your arm in both directions and let that guide you. It's like martial arts. It's like surfing. It's like speed skating. You don't see speed skaters throw their their leg out to turn, they glide in the direction, and it actually helps you turn faster. So you have to tell me, do you see the 49ers when you go to practice? Are they doing hip mobility drills before they even practice or lift?
I mean, they do dynamic stretches, but I don't watch it closely enough to
Is it
tell you
explosive,
exactly.
though? That's what I'm asking. Are they moving when they do it? Are they high stepping in
I do
reverse?
think they are. That's a good question. Let me watch it again and get back to you.
Yeah.
I perceive it, yes, but I'm also the kind of guy like, can we like speed this up and get to 7-on-7s? Because I'm just like Kyle Shanahan, and that's terrible. But it's a good question. I think they do the right things, but I don't know. I'll have to watch
In
them
an
carefully.
hour, I don't see how.
Yeah. They have like a stretching period, and they have little things that they do, but it doesn't seem like it's that much of
Do
a.
they begin with static stretches? That is to say, they begin by just stretching their legs, their arms, and things?
I don't believe so. I think they all like dance while they're stretching, and they go back and forth. It seems like they're doing the right things, and it's still. So let me give some theories as to why nothing is working as a solution. I think a big thing that's going on here is players with previous injuries are at a higher risk to get more injuries. And the Niners are so invested in players who've had a lot of soft tissue injuries in their past. So let's like Jeff Wilson Jr. to begin with. He could have been injured already. You know, he could have had like a little injury in his knee, came in and then messed it up. And he could have already been compromised. And I feel like there's so many players on the Niners who are already compromised. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you have to take that into consideration. Like the doctor said, injury history, but no, I don't buy
It's
that.
so extensive with this team. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So I don't like that excuse. Okay, bottom line, it's gonna affect someone's career. It's gonna end someone's career. It's gonna alter someone's career. Look at Jason Verrett, for instance.
Yeah.
I don't think that guy lacks motivation. I think that guy is as determined as any player to play. But I tore my MCL when I was young in martial arts.
Oh wow.
Got to the Navy. My knee was still bothering me. I kind of hid that fact from them.
Oh,
and
wow.
the intelligence that community I was with shows in working out. I have no injuries to this day. I have never taken another injury.
Wow.
I run, put more stress on my knees than any football player ever has. I'm running up hills with pallets on my back. I'm taking 90-pound combat kits. You know, I'm running 4 miles through the jungle with that sort of thing. My knee doesn't bother me at all because there are steps you can take that are tailor-made. They noticed there was something wrong with my knee, but they liked me well enough. They were like, shh, we won't say anything, but you got to do this, this, and that. So they gave me a tailor-made program. I wasn't exactly working out with everyone else exactly the same way. So this group think and everything, that's what I would ask you. Do you see isolation for Verrett, for Garoppolo? I know Garoppolo has been isolated, but that's different. He's a quarterback, and they're putting him on the sideline and letting him do. That's not isolation. But when you see Jeff Wilson and Verrett and Bosa, I know we don't have a good look at Bosa, but are they isolating them? Is there a workout difference? Are they?
Oh, no, for Verrett, absolutely. For Jeff Wilson Jr., no. For Tavarius Moore, no. Like the guys who get the special treatments are the vets who make a lot of money. But like let's look at Tavarius Moore for a second. This one I feel like is preventable. You were a DB. You know that drill that they do at the beginning of every practice. Backpedaling and driving in different angles. I mean, they do it every day.
Exactly. Yep.
Right? I don't know how you were. I never played football, but I talk to coaches all the time. I ask them questions. Tell me if this was how you were taught to do it. But what the coach said was how he taught the DBs was you drive, you turn your foot and drive off the side of your foot with your knee bent. If you don't do that and you drive off the ball of your foot, just visualize how much force is on your Achilles.
Yeah,
if you're driving off the ball of your foot,
it's the same reason you don't squat from the balls of your feet.
Exactly.
Because it engages. It's a chain reaction. It engages your patella up in your knee in a way in which it's free floating, and then it grinds.
Exactly. So I don't know if
as far as the Achilles goes, that's a hyper load on the Achilles. When I was, I knew this guy. He was a recon Marine, best instructor I ever knew. He ruptured his Achilles tendon going downhill because he kept hitting the balls of his feet. Because this dude's an insane runner. This guy, he can maintain. I mean, his mile and a half time, I think was, I want to say it was like 6:50.
Yeah.
Who does that? This guy was insane. And
yeah,
that's chew on that, people. That's a ridiculous time. But anyway, he ruptured his Achilles tendon when he got older because he decided to do tons of downhill training because of where we live.
Yes.
So it's kind of similar. As for me, yeah, I was taught like that. It was very simplified. Each coach has a different way of doing it because they don't want you to overthink. So they're going to tell you something that makes it simplified. So they think it's streamlined and easily digested by the whole team.
Right.
So what I was taught is that you're going to throw your elbows out, and that's going to turn your shoulders, and you're going to open up your hips. And if your hips are going, I'm trying to think. Deion Sanders, great. I love his highlight reels. If you guys look at some of his football cards, some of his highlight reels, he has this almost sideways lean. Yes. And he looks like his leg is like at an angle like this to the ground with a big bend in his knee.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's how the drive is just like a squat.
You need the bend in your knee. If you drive off the ball of your foot, your leg locks, it's straight, and all of the G forces are on your Achilles. And if you do that every day, like Tavarius Moore, if you do it the wrong way every freaking day, like Tavarius Moore does, and you're a 24-year-old who pops your Achilles.
I mean, it's in any exercise. If you have repeated trauma, you have repeated aggravation, that just basically you have micro fissures in your tendons. Basically, they begin to tear slowly over time. They call it wear and tear. Wear and tear is completely preventable until you're 90 years old. But basically, the point is these guys with the recovery, with the proper techniques, with the proper calisthenics program. Right. So but we're talking about a culture. We're talking about a complete system change at this point. And it starts at the top with Peterson. And even if he knows what he's doing from a physiologic medical standpoint, it's very obvious that this culture is not instilled. And that goes to him, and then it goes to the coach.
Well, I mean, there should be more. If Tavarius Moore is doing his basic drills incorrectly, then what's the point of doing them at all? There should be more.
Is there any way we can watch the drill session?
I'm allowed to watch the drill session when I'm there.
If you can take some notes, maybe we can go over that, because the one thing I'm interested in is
I'll take some videos. I'll show you.
I would love that. I would like to go
over
that and find out if they warm up. That's what I'm concerned with. If you're warmed up and your technique is okay, you're not going to take these injuries. But there are freak accidents, of course.
Yes.
But borderline, the AstroTurf bizarre phenomenon last year. Other teams played on AstroTurf. I don't like AstroTurf. I played on that a couple of times. I can't stand those little black things that go flying everywhere.
Tire parts.
Yeah.
I had in my high school.
I hate them.
They get in your mouth. It's gross.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, I face planted a couple of times.
People spit on the field. It's gross.
Oh, it's nasty.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's nasty. It's like a cat box. That's what we call it.
It is a cat box, a freaking litter box. Ugh.
It is, but the bottom line is other teams, the Jets, they played on there, and nobody saw the attrition in a single game with the 49ers, but that was devastating. And if you are already in a place where your injuries are small or minor, like you said with Moore, it's kind of mounting, and you're not warmed up properly, and your muscles are not built properly, that's going to only expose you. So AstroTurf, you can blame it, but it's more like it exposes a certain lack of durability and flexibility.
Yeah, it's just way less forgiving on your joints. I feel like you're more likely to pop an Achilles on AstroTurf. Brandon says, how many Niners will opt out of turf this year? That's a very strange question. I don't know if you can opt out of turf.
I've never heard that.
No, but I'll get back to you, Brandon. All right, now it's time to talk about Carl Nassib. Can you remind people exactly what he did? I mean, obviously he came out as gay, but he also said more about the Trevor Project. Can you explain this? Thank you.
So Cohn and Sybilla is an American football player. He's from Pennsylvania originally. He's a defensive lineman, and he's no slouch. I'd like to start off by saying that. I mean, he's a good rotational piece. Honestly, I think he would have a place with Chris Kokerick or Kosirak, however you pronounce that. I think he's a decent player. 20 and a half sacks in his career. He's still a young guy. He's good ball player. He came out, and it said that he's the first player to come out as a homosexual in NFL history. I'm going to kind of annotate that a little bit, because it's kind of like what he did is magnificent. And we're going to talk about the way it paves roads for other people. Not even just about sexuality, but about the fact of the matter is, as a gay guy, he's basically a minority in the NFL. He might be the smallest minority in the NFL because there are not that many gay players that are open anyway.
True.
I'm really hoping we'll see more gay players, but above all, he didn't just do this for himself. Obviously, it takes a huge load off of him. It takes a lot of courage to do what he did. I'm very proud of him for doing that. Having been a division commander, I can tell you how difficult it was for lesbian or gay men, lesbian women or gay men or non-binaries or whatever, bisexuals to come and talk to me, and because I identify as lesbian, and have them come and talk to me about this is the way I am and this is who I am and everything, and just them having to tiptoe in their careers for fear they will not be accepted. And I mean, Nassib, he painted a little bit of a crosshair on his forehead when it comes to his resume, and he knew that coming out. So I'm very impressed with that. Probably the most important thing he did is he gave a platform to, I'm going to kind of stand up a little bit here. You can kind of see this shirt, which I'm wearing, which was sent to me by the same organization that he benefited. They're called the Trevor Project. I get involved with them, Mental Health America and Hot Topic, whom I model for. So I model this shirt, and what it is it basically raises awareness to mental health for the LGBTQ plus community in the United States and abroad. They have a global vision, but it starts here in the US, and Carl Nassib gave $100,000. But it didn't just stop there. Also, people like Julian Edelman. I don't think that guy will ever step away from football. He's a cool guy. I like him.
I like him too.
He's a great guy.
Jewish.
Yeah, he's an actual football player. I don't know what makes him so good sometimes, except just his determination.
Yes.
He's just a football player.
Yes.
He could have played any position. Didn't he play quarterback?
He was a quarterback. He's from over in the Bay Area. He's from Redwood City. He played quarterback.
Why didn't we have him?
Good question.
Yeah.
Good question.
So anyway, guys like Julian Edelman came out, other football players, and they matched his donation to the Trevor Project. And what that will do for LGBTQ youth is it gives them mental health resources, and also, perhaps more importantly, educates the local schools and LGBTQ organizations on how to empower the LGBTQ youth. Because I'm sure Carl Nassib, he would be the first to tell you it wasn't easy growing up in a high macho, high testosterone, very, very secluded environment. We've seen racism, sexism, and homophobia and transphobia. We 49ers fans know about that because of what Colin Kaepernick had to go through. This is all interrelated. That's why the HERE project for the Trevor Project includes more colors in the rainbow than it used to. Because the point is that we're talking about sexuality, but really the point of what he's doing and what Trevor Project did was actually acceptance for every minority and every majority, just everyone.
Right.
And in this particular case, what he's doing is literally saving lives. That's a huge donation to Trevor.
I see exactly what you're saying. And what he's doing is making it normalizing football players being themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Whatever that is.
Exactly. Whatever that is. It's all interrelated. But I want to actually give a shout out to another football player that came out a long time ago, actually. I mean, Michael Sam. Do you remember him? St. Louis defensive line cut before the season, but we all knew about him. And I'm kind of wondering why he's not considered the first gay player to come out in the NFL, because he's the first openly gay player. Not really sure what the difference is here. Very proud of Nassib, don't get me wrong, but I think Michael Sam deserves the laurel. I really do, because he came out as a CFL player.
He came out before he made the team. I mean, he came out, I think, before he got drafted or during college football when he was at
CFL. I want to say it was in the CFL.
No, I think he
came out as a gay player in the Canadian Football League.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, so like.
But yeah, he was definitely before Carl Nassib. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm kind of wondering why he has not been given a little bit more. Now, it was years ago, and I think also it has something to do with it. I'm gonna hit the nail on the head. He's a black football player, and he's gay, and that is the hardest thing for the NFL to accept.
Very interesting.
I really think that's important, and I think Michael Sam deserves a little bit of credit, a lot of credit, perhaps even the laurel itself. But
absolutely,
he's taken up where Michael Sam left off. He's carried on the charge, and it's just nice to see that someone else is willing to do the same.
And it seems like, if you think about it, when Michael Sam tried to do it, he might have been a little before his time. There might not have been as much sympathy. It might have been a little bit more okay to be like, "Ew, what's that about?" And now, when Carl Nassib comes, it seems like just the entire country is a little bit more sensitive to these issues. Young people are more attuned to them. and it was very good
Yeah.
timing on Carl's part. It was the right time.
It was good timing. I'm glad that it's less comfortable for people to be bigoted in today's world. I'm glad it's
Right.
more exposed. I'm glad it's more talked about. I also think that Cohn and Nassib fits the perfect white American Pennsylvanian Dutch boy. He's a registered
Yeah.
Republican. And it makes
Is he
it a lot.
really? Wow.
He is a registered
Wow.
Republican,
Wow.
which is interesting for him.
Sure. Yeah.
But, you know, having been in the military, I knew some pretty liberal Republicans. So it's interesting where people's
It is
politics
interesting. Go. What did there was something else I wanted to say about this before.
Well, actually,
go ahead.
We have to give a shout out to a particular coach. A little bit of history here, Vince Lombardi. Pretty good coach by all accounts, from what I hear. You know, he's a great coach. Back in 1969, he went to coach the Washington what they called the Redskins at the time. Both of us know it's the Washington football team. Good call, but back then they were calling them another name, and he took over that team. So when he did, he inherited a tight end that came forward as a homosexual. And so Vince Lombardi was faced with something that, can you imagine 1969, having gay players on your team? I mean, that's like, I can't imagine what that would have been like, what kind of courage that Vince Lombardi had to show.
1969, yeah.
Right. His brother was gay. See, I never knew that until I started looking into this. But Vince Lombardi had a gay brother. So he was exposed to this. He came into his locker room, got all his coaches together. The players weren't there, and he goes, so here's how it's going to work. Mm-hmm. Any of you make one comment about their, quote, their manhood, you will lose your job faster than you land on your ass.
Nice.
That's what he said to them.
Nice.
And
I like that.
He's ahead of his time. And he took, so that gay tight end he took, I think Jerry Smith might have been his name. I have to get back to you on that. First team All-Pro. He was a tight end when he got there. First team All-Pro.
Wow. Shows you what a difference it can make when you're not ostracized.
Exactly. And it's amazing that he changed the culture back then. And he had more actual gay players on his team. And they actually talked to players from the Redskins later on. And they said, yeah, we had no problem with it because Vince Lombardi, he instituted a culture that made it comfortable.
That's amazing. It seems to me that the fact that no professional athletes or before at Nassib would ever come out as being gay was something that was very interesting to me, considering 10% of the population statistically is gay. So you're thinking that like 10% of these teams are too. I mean, why wouldn't they be? And you would have to think statistically, a lot of these people can't live the lives they want to live or whatever, like their truths until they're retired and out of the public light or never. And that's terrible. And it seems like Nassib really could help lots and lots of people, lots and lots of professional athletes just not have to be in the closet anymore if they don't want to be. That's a good thing.
I think to be honest with you, perhaps the most important thing was the response from big name players like Julian Edelman.
Good call.
Also, I was reading an article earlier, and I have to agree with it. The NFL got something right. So when they came out at the beginning of Pride Month, they had their little rainbow thing and everything. Everybody was like, they never cared about Colin Kaepernick. They don't care about Pride. This is all cloud chasing. This is just Instagram worthy. That's all they're doing. And then they came out and they said, in response to Cohn and Sybilla and Pride Month, they said, this is a step for acceptance for everyone. And that's basically all the NFL said. And then the NFL goes, whether you're genderqueer, trans, lesbian, minority, or gay. And that's all they said. And it was a black screen with white text.
I believe him too. I really feel like Carl Nassib is good for the league office. But you got to remember, there's two different entities here. There's the league office, and the teams. And they're different, right? And the teams sometimes have more. Exactly. So I thought like with Michael Sam, the league wanted Michael Sam. They wanted him. And I think teams were like, well, not on my team. Not in this locker room.
They cut him too, for the record. Right. I don't know how good he was, but they cut him.
Right. And so that was the culture in the past. And now I think what's good is that culture is being blown up. It's not a don't ask, don't tell type of thing. You're allowed to be yourself. And if you're the best player, you'll play. So that's a good thing.
These last 2 years have been very good landscape changing for the NFL. I think there has not been an atonement for Colin Kaepernick yet. There hasn't been. They've kind of just ignored that and moved on to other things. But I do believe that racial relations have improved. I think they are actually starting to take actions and not words. The Washington football team them issuing a statement on behalf of Carl Nassib. They are also making a donation. I think they're actually taking action for the first time.
With the Kaepernick thing, we can talk about Kaepernick for a second. Again, I feel like this is a difference between the league office and the teams. I think that Roger Goodell would love Colin Kaepernick back in the league. It would only be more publicity, more money, more views, and it would make him look good. But then, so I think the league office would actually want him, which is probably why they put together that tryout that didn't work out. But you have to get a team that wants him, and teams are way different than the league office. Way different, right?
He's definitely better than a lot of starting quarterbacks in this league. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
He's explosive. He's exciting. I know he has some flaws in his touch and things like that in his reads, but I just feel like he's still better, and he's a freak of nature. Honestly, I hate to bring up Tim Tebow because he's the opposite. He's the anti-Kaepernick. He really is. They're like yin and yang on social and political issues.
They are. That's true.
And yeah, I'm going to say that about Tim Tebow. I'm going to call it out. Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless, they did call that out, and I'm so proud of them for doing that. But they made the point. You've got Kaepernick and his liberalism, and you've got Tebow and his conservatism. But wherever you sit within that spectrum, Tim Tebow is still in the league. He is not better than Colin Kaepernick.
No, but I want to say, like,
position change.
He was. I kind of like Tim Tebow.
I want to see Kaepernick position change. I think Kaepernick's a better tight end than Tim Tebow. I really think he would be.
It'd be interesting to see Colin Kaepernick run around. That's what I'm saying. Like, if Colin Kaepernick, I just want to give Tebow credit. He's in great shape. Just want to say that.
Yeah,
is in great shape.
He's actually heavier than he's ever been.
Yes, and he never would have been back in the league if it weren't for Urban Meyer. And I believe, like, if Jim Harbaugh got a job tomorrow as a head coach, I bet you he would sign Colin Kaepernick. And I bet you he would. And I like that about him.
I wish he would come back to the NFL, honestly.
Yeah,
take over honestly, I wish he'd taken over the Jaguars.
Yeah, I think he's better suited for the NFL than for college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I love his style. And he runs a good workout.
I miss him too. He ran a great press conference. He was a lot of fun.
Wasn't it him that brought the Navy SEALs out
to
do the work? Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's Harbaugh. Well, I was thinking that some of you guys would just leave the show, but actually we got more viewers during this conversation about, I'm here for it too. I'm glad we got to talk about it. I'm proud of Carl Nassib. I'm proud of this show. Proud of the viewers for being open-minded.
Yes. And actually, I just wanted to say something. I really appreciate, all of you guys. I get a lot of great feedback from you. That was kind of one of my personal missions today, was just to thank you all for your warm welcome. And it's a hell of a family that Cohn has put here together. This Cohn zone, I love it. It's good to be here.
Sometimes the chat room can be really mean, like it's almost like the Apollo in New York. But today it was very open-minded, and I appreciate it. It was a good show. Thank you. It was all Sybilla's idea too. Yes. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we still bounce our ideas off each other. So Grant, give yourself a pat on the back. You help facilitate this platform. And even if 10 people were to listen to this show, that's 10 people who might have a more informed opinion. So
we got 230 people in here right now.
Okay.
They stuck around. We did pretty good. This was a good one. Thank you very much. What do you got going on today? What's on the docket for you?
All right. So funny enough, I'll be working out.
Nice.
There's the topic that it seems like I keep getting back to is I'm going to work out, and I promise you, everyone, I'm activating and deactivating. So I've got a guy. Have you been?
I lifted yesterday for 25 minutes, and I didn't activate or deactivate. I'm really proud of that. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, so
but I don't lift that heavy. It's not like I'm going to hurt myself, I don't think.
Well,
maybe.
I tore my MCL.
I bench pressed 135 yesterday. Felt pretty good about it.
What'd you do?
Bench press 135 yesterday. Look, I used to be stronger, but I didn't lift at all during the pandemic. I'm giving myself excuses.
You know what I always say to guys? Like, when guys talk to me about like what they lift, and they're like, "Yeah, I can bench press like 325." I'm like, "Okay,
that's not
how many reps?" They'll be like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "How many reps?" And I'm like, "Can you do it 5 times?"
No.
And they're like, "No." And they're like, "Well, then you don't lift 325."
That's true.
It's all about. I call it the 5x5. It's just about 5. It's the 5x5. What can you do 5 sets of 5 with only 2 minutes between each set? That's your bench press routine.
Oh, I'm probably about 95 at that.
But and then the other thing is, like, not tomorrow, but the day after, why don't you do a burnout session with a pair of 10s on the bar, seriously, and just do as many as you can 3 times.
Steve, look, I'm 33 years old, all right? I go to the gym, I hang out for 25 minutes, and then I leave. Here's how you know I don't spend enough time in the gym. When I leave, the person at the front desk goes, "Oh, you're done already?" Every time. I'm like, what's that supposed to mean? You should see.
Not to say that.
Oh, you're done already? Yeah.
Just tell them. Just tell them I did a high interval training, HIT.
Yeah, exactly. HIT. Everyone was impressed.
Yes.
All right, Sybilla, have a great day at the gym. I'll be talking to you soon. Thanks everyone for watching. Oh, hold on,
Steven. Everyone. Thank you so much.
Right at the buzzer. Listen, anyone who complains about openly gay players in the NFL are tripping. You mean to tell me sharing a shower room with a grown man isn't it? Grow up. All right, Steven. Steven calls into the Cohn phone every time with his guitar.
Yeah, Steven, thanks for that comments. I mean, takes a man to say that. Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
But not everybody's on your level, Steven. Not everybody kind of gets it. So people are threatened. People aren't.
And also, it seems like NFL fans in particular are a little late to come around to this, but it seems like they're coming around. I mean,
I have one comment to make on that before we go. Yes. Real quick. One of the reasons that players are homophobic, why there is systemic racism, is because of the herd mentality, that clan mentality of what is considered manly and acceptable behavior by the mass, by the majority.
Right.
And all you need is leadership change. All you need is an environment in which it's cool to accept people.
Yeah.
Simple as that. I had no problem in my division in the U.S. Navy and the Marines with transphobia or sexism or homophobia because I made it uncool to be bigoted in any way. And so suddenly it became an act of manhood to be accepting of everyone. And that's hopefully what Mr. Nassib has done for us. So
I often think of that scene in Billy Madison where Billy's on this field trip with the second graders and one of his friends pees his pants. And Billy pretends to pee his pants too and gets the whole class to pee their pants and to reconsider what they think is cool. It's not really an analogy of what we're talking about, but it's that kind of leadership.
It's that bullying.
It's that leadership. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, you want to make fun of him? Make fun of me. I think it's cool. And that changes everything. Yeah.
Exactly. So. And one last little fact, the name Nassib, because I wanted to look up where he was from because the name Nassib is actually an Arabic word. Forget, you know what it means?
What?
Destiny or fate.
Well named.
Exactly.
I guess it was destiny or fate, right?
We're here. Exactly. All right. Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. I'll be back later today with a new laptop. I got to go pick it up.
Perfect.